If you have been buying yogurt for your gut health, you might want to sit down for this. Most store-bought yogurts, even the ones labeled probiotic or gut-friendly, are fermented for as little as 30 minutes before they are packaged and shipped. By the time that yogurt reaches your gut, the bacteria count is a fraction of what the label implies. Homemade yogurt fermented properly contains up to 100 times more live bacteria, and making it at home is simpler than you think. Before we get into the steps, drop your age in the comments and tell us if you have ever tried making yogurt at home. We read every comment, and it helps us know what to cover next. Step 1. Choose your milk. This is the step that catches people out before they even begin. You might grab whatever milk is in the fridge, often low-fat or skim, thinking it does not matter much. But your choice of milk determines the quality, the thickness, and most importantly, the probiotic count of your finished yogurt. Full-fat whole milk is what you want. The natural fat in whole milk acts as a stabilizer during fermentation. It helps the bacteria culture evenly throughout the milk and creates the thick, creamy texture that holds the probiotics together. When you use low-fat or skim milk, the yogurt comes out thin and watery. More importantly, the bacterial count ends up lower because the fat is part of what creates the ideal environment for the bacteria to multiply and thrive during fermentation. Research consistently shows that full-fat dairy produces a more nutrient-dense end product than its low-fat counterparts. The fat in whole milk also helps your body absorb calcium, vitamin D, and the B vitamins that the fermentation process produces. Without that fat, those nutrients pass through without being fully absorbed. This is one of the reasons full-fat yogurt has been rehabilitated by nutrition researchers over the last decade after years of being incorrectly blamed for heart disease. After 60, nutrient absorption naturally becomes less efficient. Getting the most out of every ingredient matters more than it did when you were younger. Whole milk gives your homemade yogurt the best chance of delivering everything your gut and your bones actually need. If you have been avoiding full-fat dairy out of habit or old advice, the current research supports making the switch. Organic whole milk is the best choice if it is available and within your budget. Grass-fed milk contains a higher ratio of beneficial fatty acids than conventional milk. If goat milk is available to you, it is worth considering. Goat milk has smaller fat globules than cow milk, which makes it easier to digest, and research has found it improves calcium absorption even more effectively than cow milk yogurt. Either works well. The key is whole fat. Whatever you choose, avoid ultra-pasteurized milk if you can. Ultra-pasteurized milk has been treated at very high temperatures, which can sometimes make it harder to culture properly and may result in a yogurt that does not set as firmly. Step 2. Heat the milk. Heating the milk is a step that confuses a lot of people. They wonder why they need to heat milk that is already pasteurized. The reason is not about killing bacteria. It is about changing the structure of the milk proteins in a way that makes better yogurt. When you heat milk to around 180 degrees Fahrenheit, the proteins in the milk unfold and restructure themselves. That restructuring is what allows the yogurt to set into a thick, consistent texture instead of a loose, watery one. It also creates a cleaner environment for your starter culture to work in by eliminating any competing bacteria that might interfere with the fermentation process. Skipping this step or not reaching the right temperature is one of the most common reasons homemade yogurt fails to set properly. The temperature of 180 degrees Fahrenheit is specific and it matters. If you do not heat the milk hot enough, the proteins do not restructure fully and your yogurt will not set properly. If you heat it too far past that point, you can damage the milk in ways that make it harder to culture. A basic kitchen thermometer is the most reliable way to hit this temperature accurately. They are inexpensive and available at any grocery or kitchen store, and if you plan to make yogurt regularly, they are worth having. After 60, gut issues like bloating and digestive discomfort are often made worse by yogurt that has not set properly because the bacterial cultures are uneven throughout. When the milk is heated correctly and the proteins restructure properly, the bacteria distribute evenly during fermentation, which means every spoonful you eat contains a consistent dose of live probiotics rather than an inconsistent mix. That consistency is what your gut needs to get the full benefit. Pour your milk into a heavy-bottomed saucepan and heat it over medium heat. Stir it gently and regularly to prevent it from scorching on the bottom. Use your thermometer to check the temperature, and once it reaches 180 degrees Fahrenheit, remove it from the heat. Do not rush this step by turning the heat up high. Slow and steady heating produces better results and gives you more control over the temperature. Step 3. Cool the milk. This is the step that is easiest to get wrong, and it is the one that most directly affects whether your yogurt succeeds or fails. The temperature you add your starter culture at determines whether the bacteria thrive or die instantly. The bacteria in your starter culture are alive. They have a specific temperature range in which they grow and multiply effectively. That range is between 100 and 110 degrees Fahrenheit. Add the starter when the milk is too hot, anything above 115 degrees, and the heat kills the bacteria before they have a chance to do anything. Add it when the milk is too cool and the bacteria go dormant and the yogurt does not set. Getting this temperature right is the single most important technical step in the entire process, and it is where most first-time yogurt makers go wrong. If you do not have a thermometer, there is a simple and reliable test. Put your clean finger into the milk and hold it there for 10 seconds. If you can comfortably hold it for the full 10 seconds without it feeling too hot, the milk is within the right range. If it feels too hot to hold for 10 seconds, it needs more time to cool. This test has been used for generations before kitchen thermometers existed, and it works consistently. After 60, the gut becomes more sensitive to inconsistent bacterial doses. When yogurt is made with starter added at the wrong temperature, the bacterial cultures do not distribute evenly, and some areas of the yogurt have far fewer live bacteria than others. This creates an inconsistent probiotic experience, where some servings deliver what your gut needs and others deliver very little. Getting the temperature right every time is what makes the difference between yogurt that genuinely supports your gut health and yogurt that just tastes like yogurt. After removing the milk from heat, let it cool naturally on the counter or set the pan in a bowl of cold water to speed up the process. Check the temperature regularly with your thermometer. Once it reaches between 100 and 110 degrees Fahrenheit, you are ready for the next step. Do not rush this by putting it in the freezer. Sudden temperature changes can affect the protein structure you worked to create in Step 2 and result in yogurt that does not set as well. Step 4. Add your starter culture. This is the step the comments from our original video asked about the most. Where do you get the starter, and what exactly do you add? The answer is simpler than you might be expecting, and you likely have everything you need already. Your starter culture is what introduces the live bacteria into the milk. Without it, the milk has nothing to ferment with and will not become yogurt. You have two options, and both work well. The first is a freeze-dried yogurt starter culture, which you can find on Amazon, in health food stores, or in some grocery stores in the baking or dairy section. These come in small packets and contain specific strains of bacteria that have been selected for their ability to produce a consistent, thick yogurt. The advantage of a freeze-dried starter is that it contains a reliable and known concentration of live bacteria and can produce multiple batches before you need to buy more. Look for starters that list at least 2 bacterial strains on the label for the best results. The second option is plain store-bought yogurt with live active cultures. Look for a yogurt with no additives, no sweeteners, and no thickeners. The label must say live and active cultures. 2 to 3 tablespoons of this stirred into your cooled milk is enough to start the fermentation process. Make sure the yogurt you use is fresh and has not been sitting open in the fridge for too long, as the bacterial count decreases the older it gets. This is actually how yogurt has been made for thousands of years. Each batch seeds the next. Once you have your first homemade batch, you can save 2 to 3 tablespoons from it to start your next batch indefinitely. You will never need to buy starter again. After 60 gut bacteria, diversity naturally decreases. Starting with a high-quality starter culture that contains multiple strains of beneficial bacteria gives your gut a broader range of probiotics than most single-strain commercial yogurts provide. The more diverse the bacterial input, the more diverse and resilient your gut microbiome becomes over time. Diversity in your gut bacteria is directly linked to stronger immune function and lower rates of chronic inflammation in older adults. Whisk your starter into a small amount of the cooled milk first to create a smooth slurry. Then whisk that mixture back into the full pot of cooled milk. This ensures the starter distributes evenly throughout the milk, rather than clumping in one area. Even distribution means consistent fermentation and a consistent probiotic count in every spoonful, rather than some bites being rich in bacteria and others having very little. Step 5. Incubate. This is where the real work happens. And by real work, we mean you do nothing. You set it up and walk away. The bacteria do everything else. But understanding what is happening during this period and why the timing matters is what separates yogurt that is genuinely probiotic-rich from yogurt that just looks like yogurt. During incubation, the bacteria in your starter culture consume the lactose in the milk and convert it into lactic acid. That lactic acid is what gives yogurt its tangy flavor and what causes the milk to thicken into that familiar texture. More importantly, the bacteria multiply exponentially during this process. The longer the incubation, the more bacteria are present in the finished yogurt. This is the fundamental reason homemade yogurt beats store-bought. You are giving the bacteria time that commercial producers simply do not give them. Most commercial yogurts are incubated for 2 to 4 hours, some as little as 30 minutes. That short fermentation is why the bacteria count is so low by the time you eat it. At home, you control this completely. 6 to 12 hours produces a mild, well-balanced yogurt with a good probiotic count. 12 to 24 hours produces a significantly higher probiotic count and a tangier flavor as more lactose gets converted. Research on 24-hour fermented yogurt found it can contain hundreds of billions of live bacteria per serving, which is significantly more than anything you will find in a store-bought product and more than most probiotic supplements. After 60, the gut microbiome is under more pressure than it was in younger years. Getting a genuinely high dose of live bacteria with each serving of yogurt makes a real difference to how effectively your gut can maintain its bacterial balance. If your gut has been dealing with ongoing problems like bloating, irregular digestion, or discomfort, leaning toward the longer fermentation time gives your gut the strongest probiotic input possible. Place your milk and starter mixture into a clean glass jar or container with a lid. Put it somewhere warm and leave it completely undisturbed. An oven with just the light on provides enough consistent warmth without any heat from the oven itself. Wrapping the container in a thick towel and leaving it on the counter also works well. A yogurt maker takes the guesswork out entirely if you plan to make yogurt regularly, and they are not expensive. Whatever method you use, do not stir or disturb the yogurt during incubation. Movement interrupts the bacterial colonies as they form and can prevent the yogurt from setting properly. Step 6. Store it correctly. You have done the hard work. The yogurt is set, the bacteria are thriving, and you have something far more nutritious than anything sitting on a supermarket shelf. How you store it from this point determines how long those bacteria stay alive and potent, and whether all the effort of the previous 5 steps actually pays off at the table. The moment your yogurt has set, move it directly into the refrigerator. Cold temperature slows the bacterial activity down without killing it. The bacteria go into a dormant but alive state, where they remain viable for consumption. At room temperature, the bacteria continue consuming the remaining lactose, and the yogurt becomes increasingly sour, and eventually the bacterial environment shifts in ways that reduce its quality and safety. Do not leave freshly made yogurt sitting out while you decide what to do with it. Homemade yogurt stored properly in a sealed glass container stays at peak probiotic quality for up to 2 weeks. Glass is preferable to plastic because plastic can absorb odors and, over time, can leach compounds into the yogurt. A simple mason jar works perfectly and keeps the yogurt fresh and the bacteria protected from air exposure. The most important storage habit to develop is saving your starter for the next batch. Before you put the yogurt away, scoop out 2 to 3 tablespoons into a small separate container and label it with the date. Keep it in the refrigerator and use it within a week to start your next batch. This is how you keep the cycle going indefinitely without ever buying starter again. The bacteria in your saved starter will be well adapted to your specific milk and environment, which can actually result in increasingly consistent and potent batches over time. After 60, consistency matters more than occasional effort. Your gut microbiome responds to regular, consistent inputs of live bacteria far more effectively than it responds to large occasional doses. Making a fresh batch every week or two and eating a serving daily gives your gut the steady, reliable probiotic support it needs to stay balanced as you age. Do not freeze your yogurt. Freezing damages the bacterial cell walls and significantly reduces the live count by the time it thaws. And avoid leaving it at room temperature for more than 2 hours once it is out of the refrigerator. Now you have everything you need. Choose full-fat whole milk. Heat it to 180 degrees Fahrenheit. Cool it to between 100 and 110 degrees. Add your starter culture and whisk it through evenly. Incubate for at least 6 hours and up to 24 for maximum probiotics. Then refrigerate immediately and save a few tablespoons for your next batch. 6 steps, 2 ingredients. And yogurt that contains up to 100 times more live bacteria than anything sitting on that dairy aisle shelf. The cost of making a full batch at home is a fraction of what you would spend on store-bought yogurt every week. And unlike store-bought yogurt, you know exactly what is in it. No thickeners, no sweeteners, no additives, no bacteria that were killed off before the container was sealed. What you are making is not just food. It is something much closer to what yogurt was always meant to be before the food industry got involved. A simple fermented food with 2 ingredients that has been keeping digestive systems healthy for thousands of years. The modern version sold in brightly colored cups with health claims on the label is a distant and inferior version of that original thing. This is the real thing. Your gut after 60 needs consistent real probiotic support. Not the trace amounts that survive in heavily processed commercial products, but genuinely high counts of live bacteria that can actually colonize your gut and make a difference. This is the simplest and most affordable way to give it exactly that. And once you have made your first batch and seen how straightforward the process is, you will wonder why you waited so long to start. Now we want to hear from you. Are you going to try making yogurt at home after watching this? Or have you already been making it and have tips to share? Tell us in the comments below. We read every single one. And if you found this helpful, please give this video a like and subscribe so you never miss what we cover next. Thanks for watching.